So I'm Toby Ten Eyck, Associate Professor in the Department of Sociology. I have a split appointment with the department as well as Michigan State University Extension.
What inspires you about sociology?
What inspires me most is that the basic question in sociology is, how is society possible? And I really didn't know I was interested in that until I took my first sociology class, which was pretty far into my college career, when a lot of questions that I had but I didn't know I had all of a sudden became, I was given tools to make sense of it. Everything from how is it that we can build skyscrapers to how is it that we can maintain some civility in the face of a lot of negativity and a lot of challenges, and yet we still get along for the most part. Yeah, and what's interesting, I look back on a lot of things that I did in radio and just life in general, and these were things I thought about, but I didn't have the vocabulary. Yeah. And it was such an epiphany or an eye-opening experience to say, wow, there are other people out there that think about these things, and you can make a living doing that.
What is one thing about sociology that you think is widely misunderstood or understated?
I think in our society, the problem with with kind of popular understanding of sociology, what's misunderstood or misrepresented or understated, we are such an individualistic society that everyone thinks that it's psychology that has all the answers, because whenever I fail or succeed at something I've done or have not done, and sociology, I think, hasn't done a very good job marketing itself, but also a lot of people misunderstand that it is about the individual. It is about your own life in a lot of ways. But we just take into account that there are larger structures at play, not just your mind. And when it is your mind, you've been trained to think certain ways and do certain things. And so a lot of the psychology can be rooted in sociology. And I just don't think a lot of people understand that.
Which of the social theorists do you identify with the most, and why?
Probably the person I start with the classicals. I'll give you one of each. But in the classicals, the person that I find most intriguing is Karl Marx, and partly goes back to that first course that I took. Was taught from a very Marxist perspective, and I just found it very, very fascinating that here was someone who was very critical of society and yet was well known, because most of the people I've ever heard about that were critical of society were pushed off to the side. But also just his approach to, why are there poor people? Why aren't the poor people rising up is something I'd always thought about. Again, not in those terms, but it's something that was in the back of my mind. So Marx answered a lot of questions I had. For contemporary theorists, while I'm very interested in art worlds and so on with Becker, the person that I find myself drawn to or keep going back to is Harrison White. Harrison White is known as a network theorist, and I don't really use a lot of network theory in the sense that he does, but in his theoretical work on identity, I think he makes a really good point that identities come out of conflict. And so all the identities that we have about, student, professor, parent, child, teachers, whatever it is, has come out of because we've had to protect that identity from something. And once those identities are formed, there's a need to maintain that identity. And so when it's challenged, so when a student comes in and knows more than I do about a topic, I try to change it to a topic. I don't, but a lot of, you change the topic to something you don't think the student knows about, so then you can reaffirm that identity that, oh, okay, I'm the professor, that person's the student. When a child comes to you and starts telling you about how some other parent is better than you are, you start talking about, well, but they don't do the things I do, and so on. And so there's these identity, his book is called Identity and Control, and I think it nails it with just how we act in a lot of situations, that we try to control the situation and have our identity, whatever the identity is in play, to be kind of the alpha identity.